buttercup, you're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall, won't stop till I get enough.
Hey everyone, welcome to your deep dive. I see you're interested in the latest twist in the Trump-Carroll saga.
Buckle up. It's a wild one.
We're talking about that December 30th article from Fox News, the one about the appeals court decision on the E. Jean Carroll case. You know, the one where
They just upheld the jury verdict against Trump, finding him liable for both sexual abuse and defamation.
Yeah, and all this just weeks before he's set to be inaugurated. Again, talk about timing.
It's like something out of a movie.
Totally. So for anyone who needs a quick recap, can you remind us what the jury actually found Trump liable for in the first place?
Sure. So back in the original case, the jury found Trump liable for two things. First, sexual abuse of Carroll. This stems from an incident that allegedly happened back in the mid-1990s at Bergdorf Goodman. Remember that?
Right. A department store in New York.
Exactly. And then the second thing was defamation. This was all about statements Trump made denying Carroll's accusations while he was in office during his first term.
And this latest ruling from the appeals court, what does that actually mean? What changes now?
Well, it's a pretty big deal for Trump's legal team because the appeals court upholding the jury's verdict means that the original $5 million judgment against him stands.
$5 million.
Wow. He's legally obligated to pay that to Carroll now.
Oof. Not the start to a second term he was hoping for, I bet.
Probably not. His options at this point are pretty limited. I mean, he could try appealing to the Supreme Court, but honestly, the chances of that succeeding are slim to none.
So $5 million down the drain,
Right.
and a legal strategy in shambles. That's gotta hurt, especially as he gets ready to step back into the Oval Office.
Yeah, I'd say so. And to make matters even more complicated, there are actually two separate cases tied up in all of this.
Actually, we're kidding.
Nope. The article from Fox News mentions that, too. We've been talking about the first one, the sexual abuse and early defamation case. That's where the $5 million judgment comes from. But there's another one, a second defamation case focused on statements Trump made while he was president.
While he was president, so like during his first term.
Yeah, exactly. And that case resulted in a separate judgment for over $80 million.
$80 million? You've got to be kidding me.
Oh, $80 million, that's right.
Wow. So we've got two cases, two verdicts, and a whole lot of legal drama still to unfold.
It's going to be a wild ride for sure, especially with his second term looming right around the corner.
It's like an earthquake hitting right before the inauguration.
Yeah.
And of course, both sides have some pretty strong reactions to all of this. The Fox News article quotes Carroll's attorney, Roberta Kaplan, saying she and Carroll are gratified by the appeals court's decision.
Yeah, well, they've been fighting this battle for years, so for them, this ruling is a huge win. It's vindication.
I can only imagine. On the other side, the Trump transition team isn't exactly taking this lying down. The article says they slammed the decision, calling it a political weaponization of the justice system.
They even called the whole thing the Democrat-funded Carroll hoax.
Oh, wow.
It's classic Trump. You know, he's always framed legal challenges as politically motivated attacks. His team's just echoing that same sentiment.
So two very different interpretations of the situation. It really makes you think about the potential consequences of all this. How could this ruling affect Trump's upcoming presidency?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Legally, he's now on the hook for a ton of money. And politically, this could embolden other accusers to come forward. It could become a huge distraction and even affect his ability to govern effectively.
Not to mention the broader societal implications. Could this case fuel the already intense political divisions in the country?
Oh, absolutely. Anything involving Trump is like throwing a match on a pile of dry leaves. And this case, with its sensitive subject matter and all the media attention it's getting, could easily make things worse.
It's almost like watching a car crash in slow motion. You know, it's going to be bad, but you can't look away.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how public opinion shifts as this story continues to unfold. We're in for a bumpy ride, that's for sure. This whole thing, it really makes you think about accountability, you know?
Yeah. For
powerful figures, I mean, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. This case forces us to ask ourselves, should those in positions of authority be held responsible for their actions? And if so, how?
Big questions. No easy answers. And it feels like this case has become a microcosm of so many issues facing our society right now. One thing that really stood out to me from the Fox News article was their choice of image. They used a photo of Carroll leaving the courthouse after the initial jury verdict, looking incredibly determined.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
What do you make of that choice? Why that specific photo?
Well, it speaks to the power of visuals, right? You know how they shape narratives. Maybe they chose that photo to subtly emphasize Carroll's resilience, her strength.
Especially as a woman who took on someone as powerful as Trump and won.
Exactly. It's a powerful statement.
It really highlights the human element of these legal battles, too, the personal toll they take.
Yeah, Carroll put herself out there, faced so much scrutiny, and in the end, she came out on top.
It's a powerful image, for
Right.
sure. It takes real courage to speak truth to power like that.
And it makes you wonder about the ripple effects, you know? Will other people who've experienced similar situations feel empowered to come forward now?
Like a resurgence to the Me Too movement.
Yeah, maybe. We could see more individuals feeling emboldened to share their stories and seek justice. It's definitely possible.
We've already seen how the Me Too movement has shifted the conversation around these issues. It's been a real turning point.
And this ruling could be another step in that ongoing cultural reckoning.
And we can't forget about the timing of all of this.
Right. As Trump gets ready to start a second term.
Exactly. He's going back to the Oval Office with this whole legal battle hanging over his head.
How do you think you'll handle it?
I don't know, but it makes you wonder how much it'll affect his presidency. Will it be a major distraction? Will it hinder his ability to govern effectively?
It's tough to say, but I doubt it'll just disappear quietly. The Fox News article even uses the phrase witch hunts, you know?
Oh, yeah.
That's the term Trump has always used to dismiss any accusations against him. It seems like he's sticking to that narrative.
Which leads to another big question. How will the public perceive all of this?
Right. Will they see it as a legitimate legal matter, or will they believe Trump's claims that it's all a politically motivated attack?
It's such a complex issue. Public opinion is already so divided.
Yeah, and this case seems to be tapping into those existing fault lines. I don't think it's going to help with the political polarization we're already seeing.
It's almost like we're stuck in this tug of war, between what's actually happening in the courts and how it's being spun politically. It really makes you wonder, how much will this case really change the way people see Trump's presidency, especially as he starts his second term?
That's a great question. It's not just another news cycle. This is a moment in history. You know what I mean? This case and how it all turns out, it's going to be part of Trump's legacy. Like it or not, it'll be interesting to see how historians and biographers look back on this years from now.
Yeah, for sure. And how will this shape how people view Trump right now? We know he has a really loyal base of supporters. Could this actually make a dent in that support?
Hard to say. His supporters have always been there for him, through thick and thin, even when things got really messy. But this feels different. This is a legal judgment, upheld by a federal appeals court. It's not just people throwing accusations around. This is a court saying he's liable.
And it's not just about disagreements over policy either. This is about his character, how he treats women. That's not something you can just ignore.
Exactly. It's not like arguing about taxes or healthcare. This is about how he acts as a person. And it makes people question whether he should even be in office, even people who might agree with his politics. Some of them might be really troubled by this verdict.
And all this is happening against a backdrop of such intense political polarization. It's like everything gets filtered through this partisan lens these days. It's hard to even talk about things without it turning into a fight.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, this case is just going to add more fuel to that fire.
Yeah.
Each side is probably going to interpret the ruling in a way that confirms what they already believe about Trump, about the other side.
That's like we can't even agree on the facts anymore.
Sometimes it feels that way. So where does that leave us? What's the key takeaway here for our listener? What should they be thinking about as they process all of this?
Good question.
I think the most important thing to remember is this case is a turning point. It's important legally. It's important politically. It's important historically. It makes us think about how we hold powerful people accountable, the whole dynamic of power, and even what truth means in politics today.
Right. It's also a good reminder that we can't just sit back and be passive observers. We need to stay informed. We need to talk about these things thoughtfully and be willing to have tough conversations, even when they make us uncomfortable.
And maybe most importantly, we need to remember that at the center of all this are two people, E. Jean Carroll and Donald Trump. Their lives have been completely changed by this whole thing, and the impact of it is going to be felt for years to come.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in all the political drama and legal back and forth, but real people are being affected by this.
Exactly. So as you keep following the story and thinking about what it all means, I'd encourage you to ask yourself this. How is this case going to shape the story of Trump's second presidency? And what does that tell us about where our country is headed?
That's a really good question, and I think it's one we'll all be wrestling with for a long time. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Keep those critical thinking caps on. This story's far from over.
Sound sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.